What's going on, everyone? It is Zach, and yesterday I made a video that talked about some of the move changes that we are seeing with Pokemon that are compatible with Scarlet and Violet. Uh, but the move changes were something, whether it benefited or whether it hurt, and really good timing. Shortly after that video, news about Pokemon Home with Scarlet and Violet compatibility came out. So I saw it from CRB, but we have the official Pokemon.com update here. And there are some things I want to talk about because there's some interesting wordage in this, but we're going to get into it. If you guys enjoy this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. First off, so on May 23rd Pacific time, that will be about 10 o'clock at night Eastern time for those of you in the same time zone as me. Pokemon Home will be updated to version 3.0, which will be compatible with Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Some big news coming out here is that Pokemon from Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Legends Arceus, Scarlet Violet, Sword and Shield will all be able to go back and forth between these games, which wasn't the use case. A lot of situations were like, let's go Pikachu and let's go Eevee, where once they went into Pokemon Home, they weren't able to be brought back, or once they were brought into a new generation game, they weren't able to be brought back. So this is a really good thing. Back with Pokemon Bank, once you moved your Pokemon from like Pokemon X and Y to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, or Sun and Moon, you weren't able to bring them back into X and Y. So to be able to just have them on that you can move throughout multiple games is really awesome. Something like Tyranitar, for example, you could take a Tyranitar that you got in Scarlet and Violet, go take it back in Sword and Shield, get a bunch of ribbons on that, take it to Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, do the same thing. And so you can really deck out a certain mons with a lot of ribbons and a lot of accomplishments that I know that some people are really big on that, getting as many ribbons as they can. So this makes it a little easier for some mons. So I think this is a really good feature overall. I think this is really cool. Pokemon Home compatibility, Gimmighoul will be coming out once this updates. So we'll be able to get Gimmighoul in its roaming form in Pokemon Go, which then will be able to be moved up to Scarlet and Violet and brought into Pokemon Home. I don't know if a Goldingo that came from a roaming form will have any difference than, the Goldingos that we have now. But to me, I'm not playing Go that much anymore. It's not that big of a deal. And the celebration gift, usually when they update home compatibility, they do a celebration gift. It's the same as always. It is the starters with their hidden ability, which back in Sun and Moon, back in Sword and Shield, that was actually a big deal because ability patches did not exist back then. But now, for the most part, these starters already have widely distributed hidden abilities that you can get from Wonder Trade, or you can get yourself with just an ability patch. So that's not that big of a deal as always. So that's kind of a bit of a bummer, but I didn't expect them to do anything different. And here's the tricky part. Here's the thing that has a lot of questions being propped up. From version 3.0 onwards, you will also have a variety of features on the Nintendo Switch version of Pokemon Home. So you will be able to exchange Pokemon Home points for League points, which is really good because I never use any of the home points or bank points, in all honesty. So you can use them for vitamin items, you can use them for bottle caps, so that's really good. You'll be able to change a Pokemon's details on a display page. So, for example, let's go back to Tyranitar. Tyranitar, you could look at its Dex page for Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, all without like switching your games in and out, which has always kind of been the case. It's just, it'll probably be easier to view now. But here's the big part right here. When bringing a Pokemon from Pokemon Home into a linked game, you will be able to change the moves it knows from a list of moves that it has learned up to that point. These moves are limited to moves that can be learned in Pokemon Sword and Shield, Brilliant Diamond, and Shining Pearl, with some exclusions, Pokemon's Legends Arceus, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So this will allow you to have Pokemon know moves you want it before moving it out of Pokemon Home. So worst case scenario, This is just the move system that they implemented into Scarlet and Violet. Best case scenario, this opens it up to all the moves that it can learn, including Sword and Shield, Isle of Armor, tutor moves, which would be really interesting. Because one, it would actually give people a need to still play Pokemon Sword and Shield and have the DLC. So this could honestly like boost sales of a game that has already sold out. Like if there's anyone who jumped in Scarlet and Violet and don't have the old games, like you might have to get them back to use the move tutor. But also we could see moves like Grassy Glide, a wider distribution of Expanding Force, Burning Jealousy, Lash Out, Rising Voltage. All of those things might be possible in Scarlet and Violet, which would really change up whatever metagame that they are introduced in. Probably regulation like E or something like that. So right now, if we look at Rillaboom in Gen 9, Grassy Glide is illegal. High horsepower is illegal. This is something that I talked about in my previous video because Rillaboom saw a lot of changes that made it a lot weaker and a lot less useful. Grassy Glide having priority with the grassy terrain and grassy surge, bringing up the grassy terrain automatically. So a lot of people would go something like Fake Out Grassy Glide, high horsepower, and then like U-turn to pivot in your Incineroar or whatever mon you wanted there. But this was pretty much the definitive Rillaboom. High horsepower would sometimes change out for Woodhammer or Superpower or something like that. But if you remove Fake Out, if you remove it, you're just stuck with Fake Out and U-turn. And so you basically have Woodhammer, which is recoil, or you can do drum beating. And then does it get any type of ground type moves? It gets Earthquake. But Earthquake isn't the best here because Earthquake is weakened by grassy terrain or Stomping Tantrum. You could also, if you wanted the fighting, you can go for Brick Break or Drain Punch. Drain Punch definitely has seen a lot more usage in this format. I do think Drain Punch is pretty good on Rillaboom. But having the Grassy Glide over Woodhammer is so good. Like, Woodhammer is great, but Grassy Glide getting that priority, especially when we see so many priority mons like doing really well right now. Your Palafin, your E-Speed Dragonite. Why not have the Grassy Glide? You might be able to. You might be able to because of the way that this is worded. It says that the moves are limited to what it can learn in Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Well, Rillaboom can learn Grassy Glide in Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. So we'll have to see in a couple of days here how this works. Will Rillaboom be able to take Grassy Glide into Scarlet and Violet? Because if so, it would probably be VGC legal. I mean, we have the Trick Room in DD Female right now, which is a big problem. And that would explain this plan right here that Pokemon Company had would explain this bug that Neil VGC kind of reported on about 2 months ago, where you were seeing on the ladder that it was possible to bring Hatterene with Expanding Force. Now, Hatterene does not get Expanding Force in Scarlet and Violet, so the only way that you can do it right now is to hack that Pokemon in with Expanding Force. But because it's an illegal move, it should get picked up by the legality system that your Pokemon go through before you start to battle online. And because it was using Sword and Shield's check system, built upon that, Expanding Force was still allowed on Hatterene. So what if here that Pokemon from like Sword and Shield can bring their tutor moves in? I think that would definitely change a lot, because I think that one, Hatterene would become a lot better with expanding force. Rillaboom would go back to its prime with Grassy Glide. These Pokemon aren't as strong without these moves. So to see a possibility where they could come back in a very weird use case would be really good for a lot of people who want to build with these mons. One thing that I want to try out that I never could figure out how it would work is Flatter and Burning Jealousy. So like this was something I thought about before in Sword and Shield, where I thought it might have been like a good gimmick. Use the Flatter to get the confusion, and then you raise the special attack. But here's the thing now. Now there's this item called Mirror Herb, which copies the stats. So you could set it up where Zoroark is one of the few mons that would get Burning Jealousy. You would have to move it up from Scarlet and Violet. You can get the Prankster Flatter off, and then you would just click Burning Jealousy. You'd have a +1 Burning Jealousy, and it would burn automatically. So if it's a physical mon, that's a big deal to get a burn into like off a +1. You can also go Terra Fire to deal with the fairy type moves here. And Burning Jealousy, so like Burning Jealousy, you'd probably need Protect. Probably Dark Pulse. And then you can fit like one more move on there. You can fit a Nasty Plot. But that could be really good. But like I said, this is only possible based on what they do with these moves. Like, will they be able to bring Grassy Glide, Expanding Force, Coaching, Lash Out, all those crazy moves, Battle Tutor moves that came in with the Isle of Armor? Will they be able to learn them through Pokemon Home, or will they not? All odds are it will probably just be level up moves and egg moves, but I'm hoping it's this, because I love Rillaboom and it needs Grassy Glide. But that's gonna be all. I thought it was really interesting the way they worded it, but it's probably just the Pokemon Company confusing everyone, and people are gonna be really mad because they're gonna expect this. Don't expect this. Be happy if it happens. Don't expect it. Like, don't be mad and start tweeting a storm up because Rillaboom can't get Grassy Glide anymore. We've already went through the grief cycle of that. So that's all I really have to say. I just thought it was a cool, like, maybe kind of thing. But we'll have to see, and we'll find out in a few days here. So if you guys want to find that out with me, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you made it this far in the video, I want to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely a quick video. If you want to see the mons that I talked about that had move changes, that's my previous video on the channel. Make sure you go check that out. But that's going to be all. Until next time, I'm Zach, and we'll see everyone later.